Hi, I'm Terry Murphy for the Data Advocate and also the senior editor for Realty Times, Women in Business, Women in Real Estate in the men's room with Murphy. We've got a great man in the men's room as well. His name is Joe Schneider. He is the EVP of Modern Tech. It's a consulting company that also helps MLSs. Joe, you have a huge background. We'll get into that in a little bit in both technology and global strategies. So tell us a little bit about your new position at EVP.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Terry, for having me. I am, like you mentioned, I'm the EVP of Consulting for Modern Tech. And what we are is we are a development shop as well as a full service consultancy for MLSs, associations, and any technology companies that want to get involved in the real estate industry. So we do everything from go-to-market strategies to custom software builds and anything you need to kind of power your business to get into the real estate industry.
Well, I had the amazing opportunity to meet you in Paris, as in France, in December, because you did a spectacular job of managing and emceeing the entire MLS First International MLS Forum. And you're so well suited for that because you were, you have been involved in global relations for NAR, and tech startups all over. So you know MLSs, you know the industry. And tell us a little bit about what happened there as we put together global leaders from all different countries and different levels of sizes of MLSs or no MLSs. It was a really a magical time. Tell us what your takeaway was.
Yeah, so kind of going back a couple steps there. So like you mentioned, I used to run NAR Global. So we would work with partners in 80 countries around the world, and we partnered with 100 folks, similar to kind of an NAR structure. And in that, what we did is we would kind of work with our partners with using the framework as trying to find the best practices from around the world to build and grow each real estate market. So this is something that I've been working on for 10 years, is to bring the MLS outside of the US into these other countries. And it's always been one thing or that thing. And so for whatever reason, we had, like you mentioned, this group of great professionals from a lot of different facets within the industry, all kind of throw their hat in the ring and say, yeah, this is a project we want to tackle. So fast forward a month of kind of chatter and talking and yeah, wouldn't it be great if we could do this? We're doing this. Let's get everybody on board, and let's ramp up this effort to bring the MLS to the rest of the world.
Well, I know when we got the invitation from Realtina that it was going to be a ground shaker. I mean, it's going to be something different. Sam DeBoard, Riso, Seppi, some amazing people there. So you wrote an article, and it was an extremely powerful article for Canada's premier magazine called Real Estate Magazine. And you did such an amazing job. One of the things you cited was the current global landscape for data. And you were so well suited for that. Tell us what you can tell us about the state of affairs as it is globally right now.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the kind words. So what we were trying to do with this article here is kind of shed some light onto what the problem is. Because if you know what the problem is, then it's easier to crowdsource the solutions. And so not a lot of people know or understand how real estate works, outside of their local market, but especially outside of the US. And so for North America, it's pretty much the same, and US and Canada. But outside of that, there really is no organized real estate in terms of how we know and understand it here. So no MLS to keep properties consistent, no standardized data, which will then kind of help expand markets and all that kind of stuff. So what I really wanted to do was shed a light on what the problem was and what really the International MLS Forum is doing to address it, and how to bring more education and how to bring more partners along with us outside of the North America to kind of help spread the word of a globalized real estate market.
Well, those standards, what are they going to do for us globally? Because I know that when MLSs were relatively new in this country, but they've been around for, you said, 100 and some years.
Yeah, so NAR, in different iterations, and I think that's one of the main kind of calling cards is to our international partners is, look, We in the US have been doing this for 100 years. We've made every mistake you could imagine. There's certainly a lot of scrutiny on the MLS right now as we speak, with the lawsuits and everything going on with the industry. But at the same time, the system works because it benefits consumers, and it organizes all real estate professionals around this one central hub where the most up-to-date and accurate information exists, and where the most inclusive information exists. So meaning, if you are a buyer or seller, excuse me, you can work with this data knowing and being confident that this data is accurate and going to best serve you in your home buyer or seller needs.
Well, I know from what I learned from meeting some of the great people that we did in France, that there wasn't a lot of trust, there wasn't a lot of transparency, and clearly, if the fields work, as an example, just even bathrooms, what's 1.5? How does that look on a standardized form? So that's going to really project more efficiency in MLS information should it come available. But how would a single data standard impact real estate on a global level? Because we were very careful not to say, well, we know how to do it, because you were really brilliant the way you said, look, we're not perfect, but we've been doing it for 100 years. Maybe we can help.
Yeah.
What was the one single data thing that you think will really spearhead this organization, the systemization?
Yeah. So look, we live in a world, and I don't think any real estate professional would deny this, where technology kind of touches all things right now. And with prop tech or property technology companies coming into the mix, what they're able to do is they're only able to help either, depending on who their customer is, if it's directly the home buyer, home seller, or real estate agent, or whatever it might be, they're only able to work with the data that's available to them. And so as these companies get bigger and are solving a really key problem to whichever market they're operating in right now, they're only able to operate in that, using that data set and data model that they have. So, fast forward, imagine the whole world, or a majority of the world, is using the same data language, the same data standards, the same data sets. Now that same prop tech company that's based in New York or London or Paris or Johannesburg or wherever they might be, can really apply that same solution to every single market around the world, and really scale that solution in a way that's going to ensure that if it's a really great product, people are going to use it. But that's not going to make it more expensive to move into a new country for them to have to normalize their data sets to that country. It's really going to really spur innovation in the industry and allow these prop tech companies to come in. So that's just kind of the technology side of it as well. Imagine this from a consumer experience. The world's getting smaller and smaller every day here in the US. About 10% of all residential home sales every year are from foreign buyers. So when you're coming from another country, imagine what it's like to search for real estate on its own. So, you're kind of comparing apples to oranges as the way the system's set up now. But if you can compare apples to apples and understand how the markets work and how the data is kind of what the data is representing in terms of a real estate listing, it makes it a lot easier for that to flow. And then the last thing is broker to broker collaboration. So, we don't have this problem per se in the US, because the majority of all MLSs are on that RESO standard. But overseas, it's a lot different. So you don't necessarily know what's for sale. It's if you're in Paris, you don't know what's for sale in Germany, and vice versa, or interchange any two countries in that whole scenario throughout the world. This really spurs broker to broker collaboration by giving you the opportunity as a broker to understand what the full picture of inventory looks like around the world.
There needs to be that trust factor, and when there's broker collaboration, there's better competition, and ultimately the consumer has more confidence in what they're buying. Well, we know that there's a great need for this. The initial meetings in France truly revealed that there is a focus, an intention of trying to create more effectiveness and transferability. Would you agree?
100%. And like I said, this is something I was so excited to get involved with this past year because it's something that I've truly been working on for a decade now, and it's, you know, for whatever reason, it's just never come together full circle. But you know, I don't know what you could attribute it to, but the key players that really would need to be involved in a transformation like this had the bandwidth, had the excitement, had the opportunity, and to their credit, they all jumped in at this time to really make this work. So that is a huge kind of testament to the entire real estate community of wanting to kind of, you know, this change doesn't happen overnight. It's one of those things where you're curious about something, and then if you're curious about something, you need to learn about something. And who better to learn from it than these leading experts around the world? And so you know, we're really excited that the first year was a success, and really kind of really excited for this next year to come, because as last year we built kind of that first stepping stone of what it might look like. This year we can take actionable steps, and the year after that, and the year after that. So I only see this getting bigger in the future, and I see this as an opportunity to really, you know, no pun intended, but bring the world closer together through this interconnected data system.
Well, it's food, shelter, and clothing, and we know that shelter is required no matter where you are, because it is a privilege and an honor to own real estate. This is going to make it easier. It's going to make it more seamless. It's going to make it more efficient, and certainly with more confidence. And I am delighted that Realty Night has made arrangements for us to have the second MLS International Forum, and this time it's going to be in Milan, Italy. And that'll be in October, and I certainly hope that you're going to be there, because we need your leadership. We need certainly your expertise and your wisdom, having done what you've done so far. What do you expect to really be different from that first to the second event? I mean, the first one was, it was interesting. It was informative. We got to meet people that we only knew, you know, the Sam DeBoards and Gies from SEPI. So it'll be interesting. What do you see as the differentiation between what's going to happen maybe in Milan?
Yeah, so really good point there, and 100% on point. What I see is the first year was kind of an introductory education session, and not just for the Europeans to learn what an MLS is, but more importantly, in some ways, is for the Americans that were in attendance, you know, the large MLSs, the prop tech companies, everyone that made that trip, for them to learn how the rest of the world works and operates and things like that. So it was kind of a nice cultural exchange to really be able to share how we do business with one another. So that was last year. So moving forward to this year's, like I said, building off that foundational level of you know, just kind of getting on the same page and having the shared knowledge of how each market works. This year, we're actually going to be able to take actionable steps. And I know Stellar MLS has stepped up to become a major sponsor in this. And, you know, with their leadership and guidance as a leading MLS in the US, we're really, really lucky that they'll have the opportunity to kind of take that step in again, taking it more from a theoretical conversation over here to actionable concrete steps to build. And again, what we want to say, and this is how I started off the conference last year, is the way that we do it here in the US is a way to do it, not the way to do it. And there's going to be pulls and push and pulls in this whole conversation moving forward. But at the same time, I think whatever's going to be built on the other end, whatever that looks like, is going to give us more opportunity for all the things that I mentioned earlier, broker to broker collaboration, more innovation to kind of thrive in the industry, and then also more consumer confidence and transparency globally around the real estate industry and around the real estate transaction.
Yeah, that is so good. And I am so looking forward to it. You know, Joe, I know there are people that probably want this article, which I'm sure they can go and get. We're going to post it on the Data Advocate. One quick question though for you, and that is, in your opinion, do you see a timeline on how this is going to roll out? Do you think it's going to be fast or slow? I know that some of the countries that we talked with, as an example, Bulgaria as an example, had a woman, Marika Abwashvili. She came here, she worked here for 20 years and then went back. So she had a different vision than someone who's never worked on this before. Where would we get more information from you personally if we wanted to just speak on it or consulting?
Yeah.
What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is always the easiest. My email is joseph.schneider@modern.tech. Always happy to help answer this. This is a huge kind of pet project of mine and a passion. And to answer your question, the timeline for this thing is up in the air, and I've seen countries take the step of, oh, it's just technology, it's just a dollar figure that we need to spend. And this, and everyone that's been involved in the MLS knows this, that the technology aspect is just a part of it. It's the rules and tools and education that you need to have core foundational understanding and buy-in from all the real estate practitioners in a country before you should even think about implementing a technology solution. So from a timing perspective, that looks different in every country you go to. Some I could see this getting up and running as quick as 6 months. Some I can see this taking 6 years. And if it takes 6 years, that's good. At least you're doing it the right way. You're having all the right considerations as you build and ramp this up. But my goal is, and this is from experience and seeing this happen, is spending $100,000 on a technology solution is not going to build you an MLS overnight. So find ways to do it the right way, understand why you're doing it, and have buy-in from every single practitioner that will be involved in the MLS of how it works and why they're actually participating in it.
Joseph, you are such a gift to this project because of your background, your experience, your vision, and your leadership. I'm so glad that you're going to be involved with the second MLS International Forum. And I'm also going to say that Modern Tech has made a great choice to have you in their leadership. Thank you so much for joining us on the Data Advocate. I hope you'll join us again for an update as we get closer to the Milan event. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.